Hi, I'm Stephen Mario Cavallo and I'm the founder of the business firm. Today I'd like to discuss how one can visualize marketing in their business and the way to use it. I'll give you a metaphor, the way to use it in order to build your business, build your brand, build your customer base, increase your market share and become a more valuable company. Today we're going to be discussing one way of looking at marketing that is very user-friendly. I've spoken quite often about the marketing mix, and the marketing mix is a technical term in marketing management, and it comprises 7 elements, and as marketers we use those 7 elements in order to maximize a firm's ability to make profit in a market by giving tremendous value to its clients, its customers. So it's a very technical way of looking at it. However, there's a simpler way that I often use the analogy of a table when I speak to people around the world. I've got clients across the globe. I find it very helpful to talk about a table. And a table, if you visualize it, it's obviously got 4 legs. And each of those 4 legs are necessary in order for the table to stay upright and to stay stable. So those 4 legs metaphorically represent, in respect to marketing for a business, your lead generation. So lead generation is the first leg. The next leg is sales conversion. The third leg is the delivery of the service or the product, so your delivery. And the last leg, of course, is your after sales service and your after sales process. And all of those 4 combine in order to make your business a lot more powerful in the market and to set you aside from your competitors. If you do those 4 things correctly, you will gain competitive advantage in the market, and customers, your existing customers, new customers, prospective buyers will view your company favorably as opposed to other options that they may have, other firms that you're competing against. So let's discuss a little bit each of those 4 legs of that table. So the first leg is lead generation. So what's lead generation? Well, look, this is actually what most lay people think of when they think of the word marketing. And this is perhaps more the promotional side of it, although it's not, the promotion doesn't live just in that one leg. However, lead generation is about finding, helping people discover your brand, discover your product, discover your business, discover your services in the first place. This is how they make their discovery. And there's obviously lots of ways of doing that. In the promotional mix in many businesses, we use a combination of advertising, paid advertising, public relations, content marketing, which is very, very powerful. Facebook ads, AdWords. There's lots of different ways and events are other ways to bring new prospects to your business. So it's about bringing your brand, or making people aware that you exist, making them interested in your product, providing enough answers and information for people to self-satisfy much of the questions that they may have about yourself, about the product, how it can help them, be very clear about the benefits that you provide, and to the customer, especially over and above competing products that they'll come across. This is all part of grabbing the attention of and getting the interest and desire of people that you don't yet know to your business. And you want to build the level of interest that they have in your business to the point where they actually make contact. So lead generation is about finding these people, or rather letting them find you, making it easy for them to find you. It's about letting them find you. It's about making sure they understand what you have. It's about appearing better than. I mean, you obviously you don't lie, but you make sure that where you are at an advantage to your competitors, that you make that very clear. And most importantly, you must make clear how whatever it is that you sell, service or product or information, how it can benefit the buyer. In what way does it solve their problem? So that's the first leg. It's the lead generation. So your job is to get them to the point where they find you. You get them and you raise them to the point where they're satisfied and happy that they want to take action, and they make contact with you and they initialize a sales process. So the second leg of our metaphorical marketing table is that of sales conversion. So obviously you've spent money on lead generation and you've generated your leads. You've got the phones rung, people have walked into your shop or your showroom, people have however it is that you serve people, they've appeared. So you've now got the this is where you need to actually get return on investment on the lead generation expense, the investment that you've made there. So, I mean, that's obviously cost you money. So all the people in the world, all the leads in the world are useless if you can't actually turn them into buyers. So this is where your sales conversion is absolutely critical. So how do we do that? The very first thing is that it's really, really important that your sales staff understand sales technique. Now, sales technique is all about being aware of the natural mental processes, the steps that people take in the purchase making process. So the brain leads people through a number of steps, and they're the steps that any prospect that appears in front of you, you need to be able to handhold them through those steps and make sure that they come to a point that they're satisfied and that they're comfortable to make a purchase. And doing that and taking them through those steps obviously takes knowledge and it takes some technique. Sales training, which is something that we offer to businesses, sales training is really, really important here. You could have a really motivated staff member who's very well-meaning, but if they fumble the sales process, if they're not aware of the sequence in which to take prospective buyers, they could sabotage unknowingly what would otherwise have been a sale. So sales training is extremely important. Along with that, you want to make sure obviously that your other fundamentals are in place. You know, price, the product itself, availability of whatever it is that people are buying from you. If it's a product, you make sure you have a sample there that people can touch and hold and satisfy the tactile need that people have with tangible goods. They like to hold them and to see them in real life. If it's a service that you're selling, then you need to make sure that people can't obviously hold an intangible service. So things like testimonials, proof, social proof, photographs, anything that gives them comfort and reduces the perceived risk in their mind of buying something that doesn't exist, like a service, you need to be able to provide that too. So sales training and some of those fundamentals, make sure that the salesperson also, not only that they have good sales technique, that they allow the buyer time for that buyer to reach a point where they're naturally ready to buy. If someone is, or if you think of yourself as a buyer, you may be in the process of deciding whether you want to buy something, and you think, yeah, this is really pretty good. I'm getting close to, making my mind on buying this. But if you've got a pushy salesperson, it could wreck the whole thing. You just get upset and you just walk away. Even if you really wanted the item, if someone upsets you that's supposed to be serving you and helping you, then you just walk away just to spite that person. So it's important that the salesperson not only has good technique, but part of understanding that good technique has a good persona, has understanding, has empathy, and is obviously friendly and helpful, genuinely helpful. Other parts of sales conversion is also making sure that within your pricing policy that you reduce any barriers to entry or barriers to purchase. So these barriers may be around price. So if you're selling expensive items that are many thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars, then, or even maybe, it depends what it is, it could even be hundreds of dollars. But in particular, the larger the item, the ticket price on what it is that you are selling, product or service, you need to make sure that it becomes easy for people to be able to buy it. That may mean having already arranged some sort of a finance option. So finding a third-party finance company where you've already pre-packaged a finance option. Car dealerships obviously do this quite often because a car might be $20, $30, $40, $100,000, and most people don't have that much money in cash ready to go as a lump sum. But there are a lot of people that can afford to make that purchase if there was a loan that enabled them to do it, or some sort of finance deal, or even a trade-in situation. So removing barriers to entry, money, which I just spoke about. Time can also be a barrier to entry. There are people that may really like a particular thing, for example, a piece of furniture. You may have found the lounge that you really want. It fits exactly, it ticks all the boxes for you, but you may want it within a couple of days, or you may need an item, a camera, with today, because you're leaving tomorrow to go overseas. So time can often be an issue. So if you, if what you're selling has some sort of a time restriction around it, or takes a long time to get in. Now, I'm not talking about building a house, because that's obviously part of the process. I'm talking about where people come to you wanting to buy whatever it is that you're selling, and you don't have stock, or you may just have one item which is not stock to sell, but it's actually your sample. So that can provide a barrier to purchase for a lot of people, because they may have a time utility issue where they need that product, or they need that service, and if you can't deliver that service within the time that they need it, then you'll likely lose that sale. So products and services are subject to the time utility issue. Another thing in sales conversions, and this is really part of your sales technique, but it's worth mentioning as its own point, is the ability to deal with customer objections. So obviously customers have different objections, and their objections may be to price, their objections may be to a size, it may be to time. Whatever their objections are, you need to be prepared to meet those objections. So you need to be able to overcome those objections. So what you need to do is think about, in your experience, what are the points that people have come up with? What are the objections? What are the questions? Where have there been problems that have prevented you selling your product or service in the past? Make a list of all these and think through rationally what are the responses? How do you overcome each of these objections? Obviously, with price, you need to justify why your product or service is more expensive than a competing product or service. So there must be some benefit attached for the buyer if they're going to spend that extra money to get your product or service, and that has to be justified. It's likewise with time. If you're a restaurant and it takes a long time for your meals to come out of the kitchen, well, there's got to be a reason for that, or people simply won't wait an hour for a plate to come out unless there's a really strong reason for that plate to take an hour. And there may very well be. But you just need to make sure that you have your story prepared and your sales teams prepared, and even your sales literature. There's no harm on your website even to address frequently asked questions, where you know that in almost every instance prospective buyers have objections around certain points. So bring those points out in the open. In fact, I actually make that part of my clients' lead generation in their first leg. Within the lead generation, I make sure that those things are actually addressed, so that by the time people actually call you and they get to that second leg, the point of sales conversion, they're already past that, and it minimises the amount of time and expense that it takes for you to actually make a sales conversion. So that's a little bit of discussion about the second leg, or the sales conversion. Now let's have a look at the third leg. So the third leg represents delivery of the product or service itself, and this is where the person gets the food, or gets the haircut, or gets the engineering work done, or whatever it is that you sell. This is where they actually derive the main utility. This is where they get most of the benefit of what it is that they've paid you for. Sales delivery often doesn't happen in an instant. It may be something that has to be done over time. In particular, when it comes to services, if you are an anaesthetist, or a doctor, or if you're delivering a service that's quite personal, and it may even be a haircut, or it could be a tattoo. It could be anything that takes some time to deliver, and it often also takes involvement from the customer, from the buyer. You cannot deliver a massage to someone unless they're there to co-produce it with you. This is one of the limitations in services marketing. So it's really important that your delivery process, and delivery again in the service context would be how they derive the utility, how they benefit from it, how they however it is that you add value to them, or however it is that they use for the first time your product, or they get it for the first time. You want to make sure that it's that experience, that first experience in particular, is as near to perfect as is humanly possible. And that's often difficult to do with services, particularly personal services, because there's no exact copy of a personal service. Even if you're very, very good at giving haircuts, every haircut's slightly different, and even if you would do the exact same haircut 10 times in a row, it's never exactly the same, obviously. You're a human being and everyone's head's different, and it's not exactly the same. So it's not like a standardized product where it's engineered exactly the same. So ensuring that the customer experience in getting deriving that main utility from the product or service is optimal requires some planning. It requires some work. It requires making sure that everything about how they derive that utility, everything about how they get that service or how they acquire the product that you're selling and how they use that product is absolutely optimal. If you know that there's things that can potentially fail and can upset the person in that, particularly in that very first instance where they use or experience that product or service, you need to do everything you can to prevent that from happening. Create systems where the quality of what you're doing and the quality of their experience is going to be the best that can be. Another way to ensure that the consumption, the actual use and the delivery of the product or service is done really well, and this is particularly important to people that sell products where there's very little human interaction at the point of after the point of transaction. You want to make sure that where you can, try and introduce a strong human element, a strong personal element in what it is that they're buying. So if you're a car dealership and you're selling a car, it's not just about handing over keys and letting them drive off into the sunset, never to be seen again, because that is a very dry and impersonal way of selling a product. What you want to try and do is wrap up that product as best as you can so that they experience it in a way that's more, that's closer to how they would experience a service. So going back to the example of the car dealership, when it comes to the day where the person is actually taking delivery of their new vehicle, you want to try and make a bit of a big deal out of it for this person. You know, they're parting with reasonable money. It could be $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, $200,000. Whatever it is, it's still always a lot of money, even if it's the cheapest car. And the more memorable that experience is for them, the more personable it comes across to them. And if they perceive it, if they perceive the people around it as caring about them, as marking the event, as marking it as an event in their life, then it really goes a long way in making a strong impression of just how wonderful a buying experience it was, and it elevates what would be otherwise a standardized product that they could get from anywhere. It elevates it into something more special, because your competitors may not be doing that. They may just be taking the money and giving them the thing and then off they walk. And they don't get that added bonus, they don't get that extra experience. And it's that extra experience that you want to try and deliver, even in products that stands you out from the crowd. And it also sets you up in good stead then for referrals. You know, they've got no reason to refer anything to you unless they got it really, really cheap, which is not what I recommend. You're not about giving away things. You're there to make profit. You want to make reasonable margins. So to get referrals outside of just giving things away for cost, you need to give people a reason to refer business to you. And the only way you can do that is by giving them an experience, making what it is that they buy, whether it's a product or a service, more of an event, more memorable. Show caring, show empathy, show excitement, show gratitude that they've given you their custom. You know, these are all things that play on people's minds and in their hearts. And it sounds very simple and in many ways old-fashioned, but it will help build your business a lot faster and will go a long way to your bottom line. So that's a bit about the third leg. Now let's move on to the fourth. So the fourth leg is about the after sales process and, you know, loving people enough after they've actually bought from you and perhaps derive most of the utility that they're going to have. Now, after sales is not about hounding them to buy more stuff from you. Yes, you want to cultivate that relationship and you want to maintain a level of recognition with these people, and you want to stay in mind with them, and you want them to consider you for further purchases and other products that you may have that suit whatever it is that they bought from you in the past, or that you know could be of benefit to them in their lives or in their business. So it is critically important that any attempt that you make to build a relationship with your customers, to people in your database, anyone that's already bought from you in the past, that in every instance that they hear from you, that they derive some sort of value from whatever it is that you say to them, or any offer that you make to them. There's no point for them receiving emails from you, or getting phone calls, or hearing from you in any way, shape or form, unless whatever you have to say to them helps them in some way, provides them information that's useful, or gives them, if you're going to make an offer, that the offer needs to be relevant and it needs to be meaningful. So this is that fourth leg in after sales is often neglected by a lot of businesses, because a lot of businesses take the view that, well, we've now sold to this person and therefore we can move on and just serve other customers. Well, truth be known is that in nearly every category you have repeat purchases, even in funeral services, because there's more than one person in a family most of the time. So even for real estate agents that may only sell a house to a family once every couple of decades, most people in their lifetime will buy a house more than once, as they go through different life stages. So, for example, a newly married couple more than likely will buy something from a real estate agent that's quite small. Then as they start to get a family, they'll buy again, and later in life they'll downsize. So nearly in every business, the majority of a lot of businesses' income, most of the revenue is actually coming from repeat customers. So it's critically important that you do well in that fourth leg, and that your after sales and your nurturing of the relationship with your existing customers is very, very strong and very well thought out. Not only because they'll come back and they'll buy again, but most importantly is that they'll refer people to you. If they've had a good experience in that third leg, where you've delivered the product or service to them, and they're thrilled and they feel like they've got an incredible value for whatever money that they've paid for, whatever it is that you've given them. They've had their problem solved. You've provided an excellent experience for them. And then if you maintain that relationship going forward past the transaction and the delivery itself, then where there is an opportunity for them, they will mention you more than likely, particularly if you keep in mind for them. One of the most powerful, simple ways to build relationship with your existing customers going forward past the transaction is simply to pick up the phone and call them. And it's very simple, it's very quick, extremely cheap, yet very, very powerful. Very few people today actually experience that anymore, but when you do, it's really quite memorable. For example, if someone was to buy an iPhone from you, if that's what you sold, then a phone call a couple of days after they've made their purchase and say, look, just check in to see how you're going. Have you got any issues? Are you having any problems? Do you have any questions? Is there anything else that you'd like to do with your phone since that you didn't think about when we sold it to you? How else can we help you get most out of that phone? Have you got any other things that you want to do with it? A simple phone call like that, it connects with them. It's personable. It's building rapport, and it's short of them being in front of you, it's the closest way you can press the flesh with someone without them being in front of you. So that's a phone call is extremely powerful. And if you're in a position where you can do that, particularly if you're the owner or someone that's quite important in the business, it just communicates to that customer, hey, I am important enough that the owner of this business or the manager of the business or the after sales manager actually called me himself or herself personally. It makes them feel important and it makes them feel loved. And therefore, it's about cultivating those relationships. By doing that, then subsequent communications that you have with these people, again, providing they're relevant, providing they give good value to that person or to that business, and makes offers that are relevant and like I said before, that are meaningful, they're more likely to buy again. And not only that, they're more likely to consider you first amongst other competitors, simply because you're in their mind, and favourably so. So they are the 4 legs. It's a very brief overview of the 4 legs of my marketing table, and you do need all 4. And like any table, it needs the 4 legs to stand upright and to stop it from falling down. And those 4 legs will stop your business from falling down. But you also want them to be balanced. You just don't put all your energy and your budget into just lead generation, because then you're just burning cash. Yes, you're generating leads, but if you're not converting them to sales, well then you're just wasting money, literally, because you're not getting any ROI on that investment. At the same time, if you're not cultivating your after sales portion, then the lion's share of your business and what your goodwill is going to be based on if you do sell your business is just not going to be there. Because like I said, most businesses, the lion's share of the revenue is actually in repeat business. Likewise, if you're not putting enough attention into that 3rd leg of delivery and satisfaction and making a good experience, then irrespective of how good you are on that 4th leg and your follow-up and trying to show them love, then it's too late. They didn't experience the love when they needed it. So those 4 legs are all equally important, and they need to be balanced. You need to put an equal amount of time, effort, planning, budget, and importance on every one of those 4 legs. You do that, and you've got a very, very good chance of having a business that hits the mark, outshines your competitors, gets spoken about at no cost to you through referral and social networks and so on and so forth. And it's what's going to ultimately build your business, and if you go to sell it, make it a lot more valuable. Here at the business firm, this is what we do for clients, and you can contact us if you want some advice on how to do this. We can look at your business and provide you with a complete strategy across all 7 parts of the marketing mix that ensures that yes, you have these 4 legs in place, and that they're very sturdy, in balance, and are maximised for your business and your situation, and make the most of the opportunities that you have. I hope that this video has been useful for you. For more information and some more excellent marketing content that's free, please have a look at our podcast, The Business Firm Radio Show, which is available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Also, if you look up the YouTube channel called The Business Firm, there's lots of other videos there that deal with strategic marketing, advertising, social media, referrals, content marketing, fundraising, sales technique, so on and so forth. There's a lot of really good business building, profit generating videos in there, all free. Thank you for your time, and wishing you all the best in your business.